Hello everyone, welcome to another reaction video. Some kind of a cruise ship, shenanigans, as some of you might know or some might not. My name is, well, I am just Czech, my name is Nick. And I used to work on board cruise ships for quite a lot of time, about 10 years. Couple of different companies, a couple of different positions. Used to be a photographer, photo gallery manager, stage stuff in the theater on board and whatnot. So I've been there quite a while, and this is something interesting. I haven't watched this video, just like that's like a rule to me. So revealing stories from cruise ship workers. I want to see what this is. I am fairly certain that some of this is probably not true. I've seen crazy things, popping out of these YouTube videos that absolutely make no sense. But I've been also asked questions during my live streams about stuff that I'm like, no, that's not a thing, or yeah, that definitely does happen. So yeah, it's a 10-minute video. It might take a little bit longer, but let's see if this is any good and true.
The recent pandemic has cast cruise ships into the harsh criticism of the public light. The industry has been suffering to regain its footing amidst public fears and skepticism. But what is it really like to be a crew member on one of these monstrous ships, where living conditions can ebb and flow just like the tides, from high to low within a matter of moments? Long shifts, income inequality, and a troubling social caste system can make a career at sea burdensome and disheartening. On the flip side of the coin, crew members are privy to perks like cheap booze and the experience of a lifetime as they navigate through diverse geographical and cultural territories while the ship gallivants across the globe. Sometimes, seafaring frustrations need to be sorted out with the help of workers' unions and legal assistance, especially when dealing with unfair salary discrepancies and dangerous working conditions.
Okay.
But other times, the woes of living on the waters are quite harmless and sometimes downright hilarious. Keep watching to see if you'd be willing to trade your familiar life on solid ground for a nautical professional life at sea with these amazing stories from cruise ship workers from all across the world.
All right, first of all, there's no need for any nautical professional skill to work on board a cruise ship. If you can work in a shop on land, you have a skill to work in the shop on board the ship. If you can speak the language that the cruise companies dealing with, and as long as you can live with long working hours, living remotely from home and surviving the waves and motion of the ocean. When it comes to the payment discrepancies, I mean, obviously that exists, and not only that the captain is more paid than me as a photographer or something like that. Obviously that has to be a thing. It's normal anywhere in the world, but also some countries have different deals with companies, or rather their agencies are connected to the cruise companies. And yeah, if you're from certain parts of the world, you have to pay certain taxes when you come back home, which is usually included in your whole deal before you get there. And that's the crucial part, like you know what you're getting into, and if you agree for a certain paycheck before you sign your contract, if someone is getting paid more or less than you, that should not be your problem. And this is in general a rule that is being somewhat respected on board cruise ships, where people don't really talk much about salaries, because that can get you in trouble. Like, you're not supposed to reveal how much money you're making, because there are different reasons for that.
Trust us, the cruise ship industry definitely doesn't want you hearing these wayfaring tales. FactsVerse presents Revealing Stories from Cruise Ship Workers. Before we set sail and hit the open ocean, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel. Prove you're not just some kind of landlubber by tapping the bell icon to turn on notifications.
All right, I'm gonna have the link in the description. Check the real video out. I always say these are the people who put in the real work, regardless of if I agree or disagree. Click subscribe and like the video if you liked it, or dislike if you didn't like it. But yeah, it's the only fair way, right?
Single rooms, not for everyone. The average employee on one of these monstrous vessels has to share a cabin with other crew. That means very little privacy or peace and quiet. When you're confined to a
True.
cruise ship at sea, you might start to feel like a caged animal without having your own space. If you're one of the lucky
That was not
ones,
the cruise
however,
ship.
say if you're an officer or another employee of rank, you might get the luxury of having your own private room. So essentially, unless you climb the ladder a bit,
This is some kind of river cruising. This is not. I don't think this is any ocean liner or anything like that. When it comes to rooms, definitely majority of people are sharing the rooms with another person or even multiple. It's very often that you have like two divided rooms with like two beds each, but like we can share the bathroom together, which can be very difficult if you're working in different departments and have overlapping shifts. If you're working in the same department, you make sure that you mention that in the for the scheduling, so that they know that like so that you can't overlap with the bathroom. I know it sounds crazy, but this is exactly what the problem is. You have no excuse being late when you live where your workplace is, but it still can take up to 10-20 minutes to get to your workstation from where you live. These ships are massive, right? So let's not forget about that. So early toilet issues are a problem if you can't organize everything properly. There are single rooms for there's different reasons why someone would get the single room. First being like highly ranked personnel like captain or officers or whatnot. Department heads usually have single rooms. And then there's another thing, like let's say we have 8 photographers on board and we have 4 female and 4 male photographers. We'll have 4 rooms and 2 girls per room and 2 guys per room, right? That's fine. But what if we have 5 photographers and five guys and 3 girls? Then that one person will usually be mixed with another department, or in some cases will have the room for themselves. It happened to me as well. There's another luxury. Most of the crew rooms don't have windows. So if you end up having a room with a porthole, that's like a blessing. That means that your whole long contract, you might be able to see what's outside, which is really cool, because it's usually not the case.
chances are you're not going to find any of that elusive booty, if you get my drift. Seafaring folks with their own private rooms, however, express that the added privacy does wonders for their love lives.
I mean, privacy making wonders for your love life is just the same as not on board. I don't know. This is something that I really am not a fan of. That people just put the ship crew into this. I don't know. It's like bang ship or whatever. It's really not like that. You still have to socialize with these people, and it's not like everyone just waiting for you. For if I don't know, man. Like that. That's just not a thing. Obviously, these things happen. You are on board for like 6 to 8 months, as I said, and of course, even if you're not in a single room, if you know that one person you're feeling comfortable with is, you might get an option to share the room and stuff like that. So it's nothing crazy. People do have sex in crew, but it's not like the most promiscuous place in the world. I just hate that. But okay, whatever.
System, not exactly equal. There's a very clear and distinct hierarchy on cruise ships. As we already mentioned in the housing situation, officers are at the front of the pack. Entertainers are the next in the chain of importance, followed by...
Absolutely wrong. So the officers and captain are the first one. The next one, always on cruise ships, always, environmental officer. And then staff captain, which I guess would be, I don't know.
Front of the house staff like servers and bartenders. Finally, the back of the house staff is at the bottom of the totem pole, receiving the worst pay and accommodations.
This is so wrong. So think about it this way. Like we have on a ship that has like 6,000 guests, you have like almost 3,000 people working. So yes, there's a hierarchy, but there's so many steps in between that they have missed, where there's like people working who are not working for a ship at all, like photographers, spa usually, entertainers mostly, what's the name, shoppies. Like usually shops do not belong to the ship at all. It's like rented space from another company offshore and whatnot. So there's so much more to that. Yes, they're like the officers and the top of the hierarchy is paid more. Obviously they also have much more responsibility, not only during their everyday work hours, but also 24/7 when it comes to like safety and security of the entire crew and guests on board. It's normal that they get paid more. They've studied for this thing their entire life and whatnot. So yeah, I don't think that's a problem. Also, again, like I mean, like in real life, you sign a contract that you agree on. So if that's okay with you, I don't see why that is a big problem.
Graphically and economically speaking, cruise workers in America fare better than, let's say, an Indonesian employee. The latter might work their tail fins off, pulling 12 to 14-hour shifts and netting only about $600 a month. The American employee will likely only work 6 to 10 hours a day and make about $3,000 a month after taxes.
Absolutely not true. On the same ship, we're working the same amount of hours no matter where you're from. So I'm from Serbia personally. I worked as a photographer. I worked in the theater. I worked with a lot of Americans in the theater, especially, not that many in photo department. The reason is very simple. Just the general paychecks are lower, and America has higher standards. So it's not very interesting for them to work long contracts away from home for maybe like $700-800. However, in the theater, there's some differences in paychecks, but it's more within like $200-300, and that is more based on your experience or like completed contracts, even if we're in the same position, than because you are from certain place. However, just like I've said at the beginning, your hiring agency might have something to add to that, simply because they are taking a part or whatnot. So there is some difference in payments, but what they're saying right here is a complete and utter bullshit. No one works less or more because of they're from some place in the world. When you work on board a ship, you work by the rules on the ship. That's what applies to you, not where you're from. That doesn't matter. You don't, as a matter of fact, you don't even have your passport or anything. You just have your I-95, which is a ID that the ship provides, and that's how it works. So this is a complete flaw. It's not true at all. Now, maybe if they did not explain this properly and they're talking about like a strictly American cruise lines where only American work on board, like Virgin or something like that, that's different thing. But international cruise lines, you can be from wherever the crap you want to be. You work the same amount of hours as anyone else. So there's no such thing. That would cause complete madness and chaos.
Social life, when it's time to unwind. When you've put in a full shift and come home to unwind, how do you relax? The options can be a little limited aboard a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean, but most cruise line employees express that boozing is the go-to recreational activity on board one of these megalithic boats. Apparently, drinks are pretty cheap too. One Reddit user that goes by the handle HeapsGoods noted that there is a crew-only bar and beers are $1.50. It's not surprising that the party scene can get pretty intense. Finding the right balance between your work responsibilities, maintaining a healthy sleep schedule, and managing your social life can get a little tricky, but also totally worth it, as one worker put it.
Oof, these are claims. These claims are the chart a bit. There's always crew bars on board. People need to, because think of it this way: like at least 70% of people who work on board who are not staff but just crew are not allowed to go and visit areas where the guests are, which means you're closed in the bottom of the ship under sea level. It can be very depressing and whatnot. So yes, we usually have an open crew bar at the back of the ship, maybe a jacuzzi even, and we have usually another bar within the ship, like one back and one forth, and there are crew parties. I explained in some of my older videos. Some crew members just do this, DJing and whatnot. There's a party. People do drink, but they're not drinking that crazy. Like, you work 14 hours a day sometimes. You don't have and you need to sleep. Oh my god! If I have like an hour break, I just run back to my room and sleep. Now, keep in mind, like, I don't drink ever, but of course I mingle with other people who do, so I know how that works. People do have a beer or two, just like you have at home. It's not like everyone's being drunk all the time. How crazy would that be? I don't know why people have this idea. It's completely crazy. We do absolutely nuts stuff on board, don't get me wrong, but being drunk all the time, they're just stupid. Also, you have random alcohol and drug tests. These are so annoying. Every week this happens, that where few crew members on random will go and get tested, and if you have over 0.5 alcohol off duty, you go home. It's that simple. So no, it's not a thing. Maybe it was like, I don't know, like 20 years ago, but no, it's alcohol is very strict policy on board. You're allowed to drink. Obviously the prices are cheaper than for the guests, of course, it makes sense, but it's not like everyone's walking around drunk. It's that would be nuts.
Drunken nights, hard to forget. Remember that one time you got sloppy drunk at the bar and made an utter fool of yourself? Don't worry, it happens to the best of us. You probably went home, passed out, woke up, and brushed aside the night before like it didn't happen. After all, you probably won't see half the people at that bar again anyway. On a cruise ship, on the other hand, you can't just act like that embarrassing night didn't happen. Everyone who saw you vomit in that planter and stumble around like a buffoon lives and works in a relatively confined space in relation to you. So you might not be able to just live those awkward moments down.
I mean, you do see the
Lack
same
of
people
privacy.
over and over again.
It gets
That's
old.
true, but like, this is ridiculous.
In addition to not getting your own private room unless you're an officer, the cabin walls themselves are super paper thin. So whatever your neighbors are doing, you're definitely going to hear it. When things get a little socially awkward, as they often do when you cram a bunch of humans into a box, you have to deal with that uncomfortable or embarrassing situation for the rest of the season. As such, employees have to plan out their social lives strategically to avoid sticky situations with lasting repercussions.
I don't know who these people talk to, but this is a bunch of random shit. But I mean, certainly these things happen, but it's not that paper thin. I mean, the rooms have the same walls as the guest rooms have, so sometimes you can hear through the walls. It's true, but it's not like. Then again, we sleep at different times. You're so tired. Usually, like, this is something that is misunderstood widely, I think, about people working on board. You're tired. You're very, very tired, and you need sleep. So a lot of people go to their rooms to sleep. When it comes to like not having enough space around yourself, you can always, like, I would go every night to the roof, to the pool deck, and just like stare at the stars and enjoy the smell of the ocean and just like listening to the waves banging off the ship, and it would really calm me down. You can, if you want to socialize, there's like table tennis or stuff. Like, we do things on board just like off the ship. This video is tough to swallow because it's an awkward. I'm sad to think that this is how people picture cruise ship crew. It's more tight than this.
Crew food, almost inedible. Redditors had a
What?
lot to say about this particular subject. While some ships have halfway decent menus, the majority of crew cafeterias serve up lackluster cuisine.
Sorry, what is this? I've never seen something like this on board. I don't know what this is.
It's definitely a plus that employees are provided with free food, but you're at the whim of the cruise line's culinary process. One employee reported that the predominant nationalities on his ship were Filipino and Indian, so most of the food was stuff they just weren't used to.
Okay, so this is true. You have a lot of people from Asia working, especially in the kitchens. However, every ship that I worked on, which is around 10, you have 2 kitchens, 2 crew messes. One is crew mess and the other one is staff mess. This long ago used to be what it's called, crew for crew and staff for staff, but it's not like that anymore. Nowadays, crew mess is usually more of an Asian cuisine, but it's usually not only that. There's like food from all over the world, and there's so much food. What the hell? And then if you are not used to it, let's say us Europeans are usually having rough times eating Asian food sometimes, although some of that is really good. It's really good. But then you can go to staff mess, and that's where mostly European food is, where a European chef is making food for you. And I've never had an issue with food on board. I'm from Serbia. We eat really good food. You know what I mean? We're proud about it. When I go on board, I'm not coming back home. You're like, oh my god, I can't wait to eat something normal. This is an absolute bullshit. As a matter of fact, I would say that very often we eat better food than the guests. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, not to mention that we have like themed nights sometimes with like certain, certain areas of the world, like specialties and whatnot. It's no food on board is good, man. What the hell?
Picture having pigtail stew and fish heads being presented to you on a daily basis
Bullshit.
when you've never eaten either.
Absolute bullshit. Oh my god.
Passenger hookups, strictly forbidden.
True.
Sure, you can go to bed with that cute girl or guy that you met on your shift. That is, if you want to quickly get fired and sent
Very
home
true.
at the next port on your own dime. Cruise lines strictly
this
forbid
B-roll,
any
man?
intimate encounters between employees and passengers, specifically to avoid legal liability for sexual assault or harassment accusations. Most ships disallow crew members from even riding in the same elevator as a single passenger,
True.
just as an added precaution.
The precaution is there because elevators don't have cameras, so cruise ship company is basically preventing you from being accused of doing something stupid, even if you did or didn't, because then it's guest word against yours. Makes a lot of sense. We are strictly forbidden from making any kind of relationships with guests. But guess what? Like I've said, there's 3,000 crew members or 2,000 crew members on board, and we change a lot. So throughout one country, you're probably going to see about 5,000-6,000 people on board. If that's not enough for you to find someone, then I mean, it's just the forbidden fruit, I guess. I don't know. That's really ridiculous, but I mean, that's not a downside, I would say.
Drama City, just like high school. Another downside of being on a boat at sea with the same folks for months on end is the tendency for things to get a bit dramatic. All this drama can be tiresome, vexing, and troublesome. But why, you might ask, does all this drama happen? One former crew member put it pretty bluntly: everyone sleeps with everyone. Younger and more drama-prone crew members especially tend to make the rounds the most throughout the ranks of the crew members. Everybody's business is out in the open. Who is hooking up with who's cheating on so-and-so, and everything else. To make matters worse, it's kind of like being in boozy jail. You're in a floating box out at sea that you can't leave, and your only social outlet is the bar. Things can get squirrely real fast.
It's just not true. I don't even know how to
Internet
comment on
access, expensive as heck. So you might
This
not
is
have
very
to
true.
pay rent for your cabin, but sometimes cruise ships charge their employees for basic amenities such as toilet tissue, drinking water, and internet access.
this.
A basic
What?
connection to Wi-Fi.
Again, absolute bullshit. I can't believe this video. This is the third one that I'm watching and reacting to. This is by far the most nonsense that I've heard. I'm glad I opened it, but this is so hard to watch actually. No one is charging you for toilet paper. That's nonsense. Drinking water, we have fountains around that you can like go and drink from. You're not allowed to fill them up, to fill plastic bottles or stuff like that in the water fountains because of, I mean, you don't want to spread bacteria and whatnot around the ship, obviously. And people still do that though. I mean, they still refill their bottles. You're not gonna get like too much trouble for it, but it's not allowed. You can buy bottled water on board, but you can also buy bottled water outside in any port and bring it on board. No one's gonna make any problems with it. We usually buy balloons of water outside and bring those to our rooms and have no problems with it. So another BS. I'm sorry.
Just for a limited number of social media apps will cost you about $5 a day. And if you want unrestricted
Yes.
access to the net for 100 minutes, you'll be paying $10 at a time.
This is very true. Internet is very, very bad and very expensive, even for the crew. An hour is usually $10, and the download and upload are absolutely horrible. It goes through satellite. Yeah, so what the crew members usually do is either we use restaurants and pubs outside to go get some nice drink and like then use their Wi-Fi, or if you'd really have to use it on board, you can. But usually have everything set up, like a couple of emails or what you need, and then you send it. You really don't want to use like any type of like video communication from your ship, because the signal is really bad, especially if you're in the middle of the like somewhere in the middle of the open waters or whatnot. So this is very true. It's a big issue. Some cruise companies lately are not charging for internet on board for crew, but then their internet is even worse because everyone's just using it. Yeah, I don't even know what's better. but yeah, internet is rough. But I mean, what would you expect? You're on a
Such, many
ship.
cruise workers are wildly out of touch with world events and pop
Yeah.
culture for months on end.
True. That's true. But you're working. I mean,
Great way to save money, or blow it. Since most living expenses are covered, like rent and food, working on a cruise ship can be a great way for you to save money. That is, if you don't blow all your money out of boredom. You might not expect to get tired of life aboard a cruise ship experiencing free travel, the natural beauty of tropical locales,
What?
and cheap booze, but it
working on board is one of the most difficult things that I've ever done in my life. You work extreme long hours. This is not working on board. What the hell? I mean, traveling is really nice. I'm hooked on it. I miss cruising, and I love having like 2 or 3 hours to go out and check out some area, but you work a lot. You get really tired. That's the first thing. You come back home from the contract, you sleep for like days. You know? You need rest. You sleep a lot on board as well because you work insane amount of hours. Not to mention your body is physically, being rocked all the time. You're balancing. It's just crazy. No, this is ridiculous. You work hard on board. What the hell?
definitely gets old after a while. A lot of cruise ship crew members end up blowing all their paychecks every time the ship docks at a new port or drinking it all away at the crew bar. Without cell service and expensive internet access, there is very little else to do. So unless you really like reading books and playing video games on your tablet, you're probably going to find it hard to be as frugal as you might hope to be.
Every room on board has a TV. In every ship that I've been, even the older ones, where you can hook up your console if you want to play proper video games. A lot of us have laptops, imagine that, and some really good gaming laptops. There's actually a lot of stuff to do with that. Like, this is in your room, right? It's in your room. And then guess what? You don't have a lot of free time anyways, but if you do, why not spend some money going around New York or something where you have never been before? But on board we have activities like, I don't know, we have like rooms where we play, tabletop games, cards, whatever. As they mentioned already, there's always some kind of a party in the crew bar, usually more chill. Sometimes it's, DJing stuff or whatnot, where people get a little bit more crazy. We have, table tennis. We have a crew pool in some ships. There's stuff. You have gyms. We have, there's things to do. I've never been bored. As a matter of fact, I bring a book and I never managed to finish the book on board.
Join the cruise band for shorter workdays. Some cruise employees lament about long work weeks of 60 to 70 hours without a day off. That can take a toll on your psyche if you've been at sea for months on end. If you're a talented musician, however, you might consider joining the cruise band. Typical workdays don't exceed 2 to 4 hours. Most musical folks spend a couple of hours a day practicing.
This is not true. 2 to 4 hours? What the hell? They do work less. Well, if they're not like practicing or whatnot, but I know a lot of them because I worked in a theater. A lot of them are just it's oh my god. Their gigs are like 6 hours in a Centrum with like 2 breaks or whatever. It's not true. And they play in different avenue every day. And then especially if you're like in the theater band, holy moly, you work a lot. That's not true. They do work less, kind of. But you have to perform live and be in front of the guests, and sometimes, let me tell you something, like cruise ship guests are tough crowd sometimes. It's crazy. I love musicians on board, man. These guys are amazing usually.
And an additional couple hours playing shows for guests in the evening hours. But with more downtime comes the increased need to fill your day with entertainment. If your idea of fun is going to the crew bar, more free time can mean more wasted cash.
Another absolute bullshit. So here's the thing. If you're a musician on board, you are allowed, so couple of special workers on board are allowed to mingle with guests. Literally, if you're a musician on board, you can go and do whatever people that are cruising are doing. You can go to specialty restaurants, bars, you can go to the pool deck, you can go and watch movies, you can do whatever the hell you want, almost. Like, there's few restrictions, but as a musician on board, you're not limited to crew areas. These guys are full of shit.
Get paid to travel the world. With all the ups and downs of working on board a cruise ship, you may be wondering if it's really worth all the hassle.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, it's up to you what you value more. Sure, some aspects of working at sea might be tiresome or overwhelming, but it does give you the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to literally travel the world and get paid for doing it. What other jobs offer that same prospect? Not too many. Some employees have expressed that over their tenure as cruise crew, they have gotten the opportunity to visit nearly every continent and dozens of countries.
I'm one of those.
Sounds like one of your bucket list items, then maybe some nautical nonsense is something you wish. Yes, that was a SpongeBob reference. Sounds like life aboard a giant cruise ship isn't for everyone,
not a giant
but
one.
for those who can mesh well with the required lifestyle changes, it can be packed full of amazing possibilities. Do you think you'd enjoy working aboard a cruise ship, or do you prefer your landlocked life with all of its familiar comforts? Let us know what you think in the comments section.
This is by far, until now, the worst video I've watched. B-roll has nothing to do with cruise ships. These are some smaller, like the river liners or whatever, and then some yachts and whatnot. Like, in general, B-roll is awful. The stories, obviously, these people have no clue about what they're talking about. Like, I can tell you, whoever made this video not only worked on board cruise ships, but also never cruised in their life. I guess it's like a popular topic now with the virus and everything, because this industry is in a rough spot. But also they read some stuff on Reddit somewhere where some random people wrote something. You know how we are capable to be anything when, you know, on internet. We can do whatever we want to be. We can be whatever we want to be. Anyways, I'm this is crazy. I like, almost none of this is true. When it comes to the last part, you do travel the world. I've been all around the world. I haven't really visited Africa that much, unfortunately. I wish I did. But North, South America, Central America, and Caribbean, obviously, and then some Australia, New Zealand, Tasmania, and all the little, like, Vanuatu and the French Polynesia, Caledonia, Hawaii, states, like all around the states, Canada, Alaska, which would be states and whatnot, Europe as well, especially Northern Europe. So really, I mean, I've traveled the world, and not only that, but I met so many people on board from all around the world, and I think working on board is a great experience for those who can swallow, you know, not being paid too much and working long hours, and, you know, being on, you know, living in that motion of the ocean constantly. But apart from that, I think it's a great experience. Anyways, I did not expect this video to kind of almost trigger me as much as it did, because people just don't know what they're talking about. But yeah, I'm kind of trying to make myself find and watch one of these every night and do a little reaction video on it. Tell me in the comments if you like it or not. The original video is linked in the description. Please check it out. Click a like or dislike, and yeah, have a great rest of your day. Thank you for being here. Bye bye.